Artillery batteries that was built here, and from here you get a good view of the river out in front, the floodplain down below, which Andrew was talking about, and it was down on the floodplain is where the corrals were set up. They had storehouses set up down there because the Americans, since Lake Erie was under control of the British Navy for the majority of the time they're here, they were getting supplies from the Maumee River, and so they had boat docks set up down there and storehouses, things like that. From here you also get a great view where the British cannons were across the river. Yeah, you can see it. If you can see the water tower. If you follow the tree line to the right, you'll see a radio tower or a cell phone tower sticking up. And then to the right of that, if you look close, you'll see a cross sticking up above the trees. And where that church sits marks the left-hand side of the British battery. If you move farther to the right, you look really close, you'll see the point of a white church steeple sticking up through the tree. You can just barely see it. You can also, in the back of the church, there's a white triangular roof piece to the back of the church there. Between those two churches, basically, is where the British artillery was. Across the river, that is well within range of the artillery, firing back and forth. It's only about 800 yards thereabouts. Yeah, effective range of the artillery can be much farther than that. The debate that we have, we figured we could probably hit the water tower. The debate is whether or not it would actually fly through the air that far, or if it would have to bounce and skip and roll up to the base of it. But most of our volunteer and our staff here kind of agree that the water tower is about where you can hit. So, and no, we're not going to try. My house is over there. If I ever move away, then we can try.
Did the British ever attack up this hill?
Nope. Never attempted a direct assault. They did not have the manpower to do it. Well, the closest they ever got was to the west, or excuse me, to the east end of the fort, outside of Woods Battery. They got within about 50-60 yards of the fort, and the account is written by a private in the 41st Foot. Said that the big guns of the fort broke up the assault. And it was at that end of the fort that the Americans had their 18-pounders, the largest guns that the Americans had. The way cannons were described, cannonball came in different weights. 6-pounder, if the cannonballs weigh 6 pounds, that's how you describe your cannon. 6-pounder fired a 6-pound cannonball. The largest guns that the Americans had were 18-pounders. The British had 24-pounders. So these are humongously large cannonballs that were flying in here. Now, to give you guys an idea of the sound of what this place was like, today when we fire off our cannons, which are in the field next to us, we have a 6-pounder. We use less than a pound of gunpowder for our demonstrations, and we have set off car alarms out in the parking lot and across the river. At the time, a service charge was 1/3 the weight of the shot, so for a 6-pound ball, you're using 2 pounds of powder. We use less than a pound, and we set off car alarms. For the 24s, they're using 8 pounds of powder for every single shot that's coming in here. They said you could hear the bombardment of Fort Meigs about 40 miles away. If you've ever been out to Put-in-Bay before, the men here at Fort Meigs heard the Battle of Lake Erie out near Put-in-Bay. They could hear the artillery. I'm sure it sounded like, like a thunderstorm in the distance, but they could tell that it was artillery going on. They knew that that was the Battle of Lake Erie. And I'm sure it was an agonizing few days that it took to get word from Perry to Harrison saying, we have met the enemy and they are ours. So, kind of give you an idea of how loud this thing was. And are there any final questions before we head back up?
Was this log enclosed behind the battery in case the hill was taken?
Nope. This was it. There's debate as to what the artillery's batteries might have looked like. They're called raised batteries. Some folks mean that the platforms were the same height as the top of the wall. Another interpretation of that is that the rear of the battery was raised so that it would, when the recoil of the gun, you'd be fighting gravity, so the gun wouldn't roll as far. So that's somebody else's interpretation. To really say what the battery looked like is open to a lot of interpretations. So, unfortunately, I can say this is probably what it was like, but can't say with for sure. So. Anything else? one